Welcome back to another video, guys. In today's episode, we are going to do the first actual episode on the E46 M3. I have quite a few parts sitting here ready to go. We just purchased this car and ran into our first little issues with the power steering. So in today's episode, I had ordered the parts to basically do a full service with the pump, the reservoir, the fluid, the belt, and basically get this car back up on its feet and hopefully have no more issues. I also have some parts for the F80 M3. And while I'm filming this video, you guys have probably already seen it. If not, go back. The M5 is currently at the exhaust shop getting its fabrication, and that's why it's not here. So I'm gonna hopefully take advantage of not having the space and go ahead and get some work done on this car. So first of all, let's get into the parts we have here. First is a little FCP Euro order. I have brake pads for the F80 M3 for the rear. Desperately needs it, and the light came on, so we're gonna go ahead and get that out the way. This is my Beamer World order, and let's open this up. Looks a little beat up already, but currently in the order we have two of these. Shorty shift knob for the ZHP, the weighted 6-speed. Can't go wrong with this, so I got one for the E46 M3, and then I got one to put in the E39 M5 as well. We got I believe this is just the accessory belt. So while we're doing the power steering pump, we'll go ahead and replace this. We got, of course, our necessary little snack for the job. I ordered these, I think they were on sale, and this is for your power steering reservoir. So if it leaks, or if you have any leaks, it basically catches it instead of going down on your engine bay or your paint. So I got 4, I got 3 cars. Only 2 will need it, but it's good to have little extras, and I think they were like $1 or $2. This is apparently my pump, but it's not in the box. Don't know if they did that to save me some space or what the deal with that is. But here we have power steering pump from Bosch. Yep, Bosch power steering pump for the E46 M3. We'll be replacing that in whole. And then in this kit right here, get this out, we have the BMW power steering service kit. So it contains 2 fluid of the CHF 11S, and we have a power steering reservoir. I was gonna go ahead and do the full kit, and I was gonna get the pulleys and the what else did I get? Oh, the pulleys and the hoses, but the hose kits were all together like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I wanted to get this first and to make sure that this car is good and drivable once again, and then again in the future, if I need to, I'll replace all the hoses and the pulleys. It's what, like 20-30 bucks for the fluid, and it won't be bad to change it even after having the bad pump. So really not that big of a deal. Went ahead and opened this up real quick. In here we have, this is the fluid. I think this is the best fluid, or whatever the most expensive Beamer World had. I was gonna go with some red line, but this came in the whole kit, so I figured I might as well just go with this. And it looked to be a good reviewed kit. And then here is the little reservoir. Dang, this thing looks crusty already. It is what it is. The best part of this entire order, I don't want to get dirty already, but every Beamer needs this. Dang, you can't beat OEM. OEM ZHP 6-speed knob, literally the most beautiful thing in the entire world. $200+ leaving my bank account, but it's well worth it. This is what I just pulled out of the E46 M3, and what we got going in. Old, new. After a 3-second install, this is what we're left with. Now that all my brand new shit is on the floor, this is for the F80. I ordered lowering springs. I did order the Super Sport springs, but I ordered them from Throttle, and I should have known better than ordering from some freaking Ricers, but they sent me the wrong ones, and now they're arguing with me saying that the part number matches. Those of you who are aware, Super Sport lowering springs are red, and the standard Sport ones are whatever this blue purple color is. These videos are probably all over the place, at least on my end. So again, it's now the next day. I was gonna do this yesterday, but I didn't really feel like it, to be honest, and I had some other stuff come up. So today we are back with the E46 M3. We're gonna hopefully knock out this power steering pump. One thing that I didn't do was order the new lines, and I think this has been serviced before. It's had to be at some point, but But with the factory OEM lines, usually they use the one-time crimp connectors that you have to break in order to get them off. It's no big deal, but if I don't have small enough clamps to put the lines back on, I'll be in trouble. So hopefully, and what I'm gonna try to check right now is that someone serviced this in the past and they already put clamps instead of the crimp connectors or whatever you wanna call them, the breakaways. But I'm gonna check right now. I'm gonna take the intake off to give us some more space because that reservoir is in that black hole that you cannot see. So I'm gonna take the intake out, hopefully get us some more room. That's gonna be the first plan of attack. But let me go ahead and get some stuff out the way so we can actually get a visual. Just as you'd have it, my luck states OEM hose, and it's the OEM clamp. That is the breakaway one. I just looked up. There is no part store in Vegas that has that in stock, and I'm already in the middle of this, and it's my last day off. And tomorrow will start my long week of work. So I really wanted to get this done today. So I might be able to reuse that line. Obviously there is fluid absolutely everywhere in here, and I don't know where it's leaking from. But I think I can just use, well, to be honest, I don't even have to replace the reservoir today. I mean, obviously it's right here and it's right there. I was just gonna do it as preventative maintenance, but this car doesn't leak a drop. Let's go ahead and confirm. This car's been sitting here for a month almost, whatever, a couple weeks, and there is not a single drop under this car. And that tray is wet and dirty, or it is dirty, but it doesn't look like it's actively leaking. So I might not be able to replace that whole reservoir and do everything I wanted to today. Let's go ahead and drain out the fluid, replace the pump, and then worst case scenario, I already stated that I didn't order all the lines and I just got the basic kit with a little extra. So worst case, let's just change the pump, and if I need to, I'll come back and do all the lines and the reservoir. The pump is the most amount of the work. The reservoir and the lines are very easy and simple to get to, and power steering fluid is like 20 bucks. So whatever, we'll replace the pump today, make sure that solves the issue, make sure this car is good, and if everything goes to plan, we'll come back in a little bit of a later date and we'll just change everything else. Update so far, I have the belt off, the pulley off, the hoses off. Nice seeing an upgraded sway bar under here. I don't know what brand this is. I'm gonna have to clean it off and see if there's a stamp, but it is blue and it is much thicker. So that's good to see. But here is the pump so far. Everything's been okay. Just letting the fluid drain out a little bit. All these lines definitely will need to be replaced at some point, hopefully in the future. But as far as right now, we'll just go ahead and do the pump. It looks like we're leaking over here and not over here. I don't even know what the case is over here yet, but that is pretty fresh and wet, but it's on the actual motor side. This is the intake side. So there's probably some valve cover and some whatever the case oil leak is, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this pump off now. I see the few bolts right here, and then we're gonna go ahead and drop this pump down, and then we'll get the replacement in. Successfully have the pump out. Man, that was a maneuver trying to get it through the sway bar, but in fact, you do not have to drop it. If any of you haven't done this job and you are doing the job, I just was able to twist and put the pump through the backside, move this hose out the way. These will give you a little bit of flex, not too much. And this is how it came out. I was able to drop it basically like this. This is how it came out, dropped it straight down. So if you're looking for the orientation, the bracket, the pump sits like this right here, or sits like this actually, sorry. Sits like this, and then I was able to basically rotate it like this and then drop it out. Sorry, I'm trying not to get this dirty ass hand on my phone and mess it up, but the pump is officially out. It also does help having the rest of this out all the way. So you'd have to take the intake out, take the boot out, take this little heat shield out, and then you'll be able to see a little better. You can see your disgusting reservoir. I was able to put a little light up here to help fit in. It is extremely tight. So if you are doing this, you're gonna need 50 torques, but you're gonna need it as short as possible. Definitely gonna want a flex head ratchet. And then these are the 13s. You want all small. The smaller the better. And definitely you're gonna need a flex head. And then for the actual banjo bolt for the hard line, the cooler line, I had to use, I don't even know, this is a 7/8. I didn't have a big enough millimeter socket, so I ended up using a 7/8 socket to actually get that off. That was extremely tight. I had to hit it with the mallet for it to actually get off. And then the actual hose came off pretty easy with the clamps. But as far as that, we're out. I got my new pump right there. Assortment of tools. My floor is looking disgusting once again. Letting all that drain out. Should be good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and assess the old pump, and then I'm gonna see if I can orientate the new pump and get that back in there without having too much of a problem or a struggle. But we're here, we're getting progress. There's no tutorial on YouTube that I saw, and there's nothing but a couple forums on the internet, but they don't really show you too much or tell you too much. But don't be worried if this is a DIY job and you're worried. It's super simple. It's pretty straightforward. You could watch a basic E46 tutorial, but just know this is gonna be a little bit harder and a little bit more difficult, but don't worry, it's the exact same process. The pumps are a little different. There's a couple different mounting spots, but don't have to drop the subframe, or sorry, you don't have to drop the sway bar, and you don't have to take out the fan clutch or this little shrouding right here. You can't really take this out because it's connected halfway through the coolant pipe, which is a little bit of a pain. This should have been at least like a 3-piece, or this should have just been fully cut out. And yeah, so now we're fully out, and let's go ahead and start the assembly of the new one. Obviously the old and the new one. On the new one, you can see a lovely scratched out BMW and a Bosch sticker. So I think the OEM pump is like $900 something. Ain't no way I'm paying $900 for a power steering pump for a 25-year-old car. So here we got the beautiful Bosch and the scratched out BMW. So I'm gonna go ahead and maneuver this back into the car, mount it up. We got 2 long bolts right here. The medium length bolt goes into the back, and then the short bolt goes actually into that bottom bracket. And of course, this is just a little 10 millimeter that you unscrew, and this should just pop right off. But there should be like some lube or fluid in here already, so I don't want to take these off until it's in the car. I don't want to dump stuff all over me while I'm trying to put it in. So I think I'm gonna put it back in and try to maneuver it, and then we'll start putting everything back together. But it's nice because you don't have to switch the brackets. Everything's already ready for you. Literally, all you gotta do is bolt it back in. This was like $300 something, like $350 off of Beamer World. So definitely go there. It was cheaper, and a couple other things were also cheaper from there instead. So let's go ahead and throw this in now. To make a correction that I just figured out, the medium bolt length that I was talking about, this does not need to be pulled out. It's actually just part of the bracket. For some reason, when I was in there looking at it, I thought that it needed to come out, but no. It's just part of the bracket, and it's just 2 bolts right here. This is the one that I thought. So if you're looking at it, that one doesn't need to come out. It's only the 2 bolts right here, and then the 1 singular small bolt that threads down below. The bracket doesn't need to come off. I was able to easily slip the new pump up in there. It's in place right now. I'm just gonna go ahead. I already have all 3 bolts in. I just need to tighten it and make sure that it's not misaligned or anything like that. But super simple. You don't need to take anything else out. It's only 3 bolts, so it's even easier than I originally thought. We have the pump actually in. I try to clean up a little bit of these lines to make sure everything is nice and dry for when we put it back in. I have to put the pulley back on, and then we'll put the belt back on, and then we're good. So that's how we look fully in. Nice and clean power steering pump. So let's go ahead and put this pulley on. We got right here. Damn, this is me wearing gloves. Put the pulley on, and then we'll put the belt on, and then we'll fill up the reservoir, and we'll start bleeding. Okay, we finally have serpentine belt on. I put the pulley on, made sure I tightened it again once the belt was on. I went over everything, made sure all of our bracket and our mounting is tight, made sure our lines are tight. Everything is back in place. No missing bolts, no nothing. There's really not much in here. It's only a couple bolts and a couple hoses. Now we have this reservoir open. Reservoir is extremely dirty, so whatever. I really don't want to run the old reservoir, but I don't have... Let me check one more time. Let me check my clamps and let me see if I can replace this. Because if I can, I'll just go ahead and replace this right now. And I don't have to go back under there anyway. I can pull this out and just disconnect the two hoses. One's a clamp, one's the breakaway. So let me check my hoses one more time. All right, things are taking an interesting turn. This filter is absolutely disgusting and it is not holding together. It's basically destroyed. I really don't want to run this in the car and risk anything getting in, because if this falls out or this is not obviously sealing, I believe once the filter is actually sucking air, it'll stay on, but you can see there's a decent gap right in here, and this won't take much to come off or suck something pretty big into the intake. And then we only have this blocking it, so I really don't want anything, and this is disgusting anyway. So I try to look this up and I cannot find a direct replacement, so I think I'm just going to take it to Advanced Auto Part and see. I'll ask one of the old white guys, hey boss, can you tell me what filter size this is and if you got a replacement? So we'll do that. And then I really don't want to run this reservoir. It looks absolutely disgusting. So I think we're going to go to the store, get a filter, and then I'm also going to see if they have a small hose clamp kit. If we can get a small hose clamp kit, then I can just get a clamp right there, and then we don't have to run that reservoir. They did not have the filter, but I got these two little universal clamp packs. I think one of these should be small enough and tight enough to go. We don't have the filter. This thing's destroyed. I really don't want to use this. So I might try an AutoZone that's kind of closer to my house, and then we'll see if they have a filter. But if not, at least we have these, and then I'll just try to order that filter and it will be easy enough to replace. Back home, absolutely could not find the replacement filter. I don't know how, but I don't even know where they got this, or it's just so old they don't make it. But this I don't even know what you call this. The inlet or the outlet, I don't know which is which. I'm assuming the inlet of the filter is 5.5 inches, and it is the short stubby filter. I don't know how, but I cannot find a filter that will match and fit this. It is looking extremely big, and then it sits on the outside of this, so I don't know why the hell they made this. They could have just done this normally, which would have been like a 3 or 4 inch filter like normal, but now I have to get a 5.5 inch inlet and a short filter that'll fit. So I got my research cut out for me for later, but I was able to get some universal hose clamps. I bought 2 packs. I got these, which I'm assuming these medium ones will be good enough. If not, I also bought these, which are a little smaller, so we'll see if these will fit. I'm assuming I can get either one of these tight enough to actually fit, and we should be solid. Okay, success, a little bit of a pain just because the angle and trying to get that new clamp on there. And we got both lines on here nice and tight. Fresh reservoir into the bracket. Looks like a little over tight down the bracket, but it's not the end of the world. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of fluid in there to make sure we don't have anything dripping, make sure everything is all good and tight, and then I'll go ahead and top it off. I'll sort of assemble this as much as I can, and then we'll go ahead and start it up and see how the power steering feels. Got that topped up with fluid and the lines. Everything looks okay. Got my light under here checking for drips. Just kind of cleaning this up while I put it back. This headlight wiring is an absolute rat's nest, but I think this is going to be another day's task. I want to go ahead and test this power steering pump and see how we're looking. There's a lot of weird little things on this car, so just bear with me. We're trying to get this figured out. I'm just trying to tidying up a little bit. That way, when everything goes back together, we can see what's clean, what's dirty. This is disgusting no matter what, and it's going to need a bunch of work, but let's at least get what we can, get this back together, and let's test it out. So I put everything back, put the fluid in, and started bleeding. But one thing to note is that the fluid, yes, it went down as soon as I started bleeding it, but it didn't get sucked down to the point where I even needed to add more. I rotated the wheels up in the air, back and forth a dozen times each way, and the pump was still very loud. It's still groaning. It's making the sound as if it hasn't been bled yet. When you first turn it on, it's very noisy. But then the fluid should have got sucked down and it should have gotten quiet, and the steering should have felt 10 times better. In the air, the steering feels fine, but if you hold it at full lock, it still does that moaning and groaning. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll put the car on the ground, put some pressure on the wheels. Did the same thing. It felt okay, but then it did not after a few minutes. So I was like, okay, let me put it back in the air, rotate the wheels again, did all that, still not good. Put it back in the ground, rotated, still not good. Checked the fluid 10 times. I just topped it up just cause. And then I was like, all right, let me go take it for a drive. So it seems to be doing okay driving, but even backing out and turning my wheel without holding the throttle, it almost stalled until I gave it gas. It seems to be, when I backed out, it seems to be leaking something that evaporates immediately. So I don't know if it's power steering, but then there's nothing leaking when I park the car. And the fluid isn't going down. I don't see any wetness on the lines. So I don't think the pump was bad in the first place, or maybe the pump was bad, but sorry about that. Don't think the pump was possibly the issue. It could have been a good cause, but that was a lot of work and a lot of money just for something to not even work out. So the only thing I can think of, guys, is it possibly the cooler hoses? Is it possibly there's a blockage or something in the lines? I don't really think so, but that's the only other option. If the fluid's not being sucked down and it's not being fully pushed through the system, I don't know. It has to be something in the lines blocking it. Maybe the cooler line, maybe something's deteriorating, because the pump and wherever it is, the reservoir is OEM and hasn't been replaced. So I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe something got deteriorated, something got broken off in the inside, worn down, and it got caught into the line. Maybe there's a blockage in the line. Maybe one of those hoses just on the inside is deteriorating. It could be a million different things, but it has a brand new pump in it and I don't want to hurt it. So I don't know. It's still, let me start it up and show you guys, at least for the video. Maybe somebody can lead me in the right direction. So already the idle's a little bouncy, but turning the wheel, it's pretty stiff, to be honest. You can hear the pump kind of groaning. Starts getting a little harder. It doesn't feel terrible, it's just, it's not as light, and the car still wants to die with turning in and not giving it throttle. And we get a workout on this arm. Now let's go to the pump and I'll show you how it sounds from the pump. You'll be able to hear over the engine, but you can still hear the pump quite loud. A little wetness around the tie rod boot. That was for me spraying and cleaning, and also some of the residual coming from the reservoir. I guess I'll show you a little drive. We'll just do a couple little U-turns and see if you can hear anything. But the wheel, my driveway was dry, so if there's anything wet on it, it's from this. So turning right here, it is not happy. It immediately wants to throw that wheel out. It's really not happy turning. The only thing I can think of is that I read on a forum that it takes forever for somebody to actually bleed these. So I don't know if it's that or what, but turning is not that happy. I guess that's honestly the end of this episode. We're gonna leave it there. I don't know, I haven't dealt with this before, so if you guys could let me know, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know whether we're dealing with, I don't know, a faulty pump, something not bleeding correctly, maybe I did something incorrectly, might be missing something, or are we dealing with some other issue with the blocked cooler or something along that line. Please let me know. I would love to get this figured out and this car be tip-top and drivable once again. So please let me know in the comments below if you've dealt with this or if you have experience with E46 M3. Just chime in, let me know. All help would be appreciated. Thank you for anybody who watched. I'm not sure in what order this video will go up between this and the M5, so whatever you see first. I appreciate you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode, and please let me know so I can either order some parts or look at something else and see if I can find an issue. So like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you, and we'll be back hopefully ASAP with an update and hopefully a fix. So later, guys.